stand, and I have a flag here in front of me. I think you can probably see, and we'll go live. I see we got that going. So everybody please stand with me. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I guarantee you get your day off to a good start. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, call to order this meeting of the Western Maryland delegation. Things have been, we're in strange times. We haven't met very often. This first time we met this year, and with the couldn't meet in person. Sorry, we can't meet in person today, but maybe next year things will come together and we all can come together and meet in person. So on the agenda, on the agenda this morning, with us, Senator Ben Cardin, who's Senator Cardin. We're just and want to know that I know for us in Western Maryland, you've been a really good senator, and you've been out there often. And I think you like our mountains and hills and valleys in the western part of the state. So with that, if you don't mind, we'll call on you to present to the delegation.
Well, Wendell, first of all, let me congratulate you on your extraordinary career of public service. You have really served the people of Western Maryland well. I've always enjoyed our relationship, and I thank you for the courtesies
that you. We're having a little technical problem here. There you go.
Am I okay now? Are we all right? Can I be heard, Wendell?
You're fine, Senator.
Okay. Always Wendell. All I was saying was nice things about you. So maybe that got filtered in the way out to your. Anyway, congratulations on a great career, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And thank you for your courtesies. As you know, I always try to go by the delegations during the legislative session. I know this year has been extremely challenging because of COVID and other reasons. So I cherish this opportunity really just to update you and to answer any questions you might have concerning our federal delegation. I want to acknowledge Robin Somerville, the incredible work that he does. He is all over the western part of our state. Even during COVID-19, he's been an incredible bridge to our Senate office, and I thank him for his service. And it is Team Maryland. I work very closely with Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Trone, and the three of us really share the responsibilities for Western Maryland. I know you have some other congressmen that go into parts of your county, including Congressman Raskin. I think you might have a little bit. I'm looking at the new map. The new map will change things around pretty dramatically. So we'll see how the congressional map finally ends up. But we work together closely as a team. A couple points, and then we'll open it up for any comments you might have. Our focus right now is on preserving our democracy, and the front line of that are the people of Ukraine. And I just really want to first just applaud the courageous leadership of President Zelensky of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. They're an inspiration to all of us. No one gave them any chance of survival, let alone be able to turn back the Russian military. And in reality, they have stopped the Russian military. We know they're overpowered. We know that Russia has incredible military strength, but he cannot wipe out the spirit of the Ukrainian people. And Ukraine is fighting the front line of sovereignty for their country, but really for the free Europe and for the free America and all democratic states. So I just really want you to know we're going to do everything we can to help the people of Ukraine. We stand with them. I get involved at least once or twice or three times a week in classified briefings and in conversations with Ukrainians, including President Zelensky. And I know we're all following this very closely, and we will continue to do what we need to. We're providing the weapons. We are providing the sanctions against Mr. Putin. We are demanding that he be held accountable as a war criminal. And we're dealing with the humanitarian crisis within Ukraine and the number of refugees. We're now up to about 4 million refugees that have left Ukraine. and over 10 million displaced people altogether. So it's a situation approaching where we were at the end of World War II. So it's a pretty tragic situation. The second area that I just want to talk on, I'm sure you might have some questions, is our domestic agenda. It started with responding to COVID-19. We passed the CARES Act 2 years ago. We passed the American Rescue Plan. We passed about a half a dozen bills that deal with COVID recovery. We then passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure package. We are now on the verge of passing another COVID relief bill. We hope to do that this week. We also have the issues of the what's known as the Build Back Better agenda, which deals with other issues that we hope to get completed. So there's a lot more, and we hope to pass when we come back after the Easter recess, the Competes Act, which is to deal with the supply chain challenges in China. By the way, that bill is strongly bipartisan, and we expect to have that completed. In regards to the Western Maryland counties, I think you know these numbers, but I just want to give them to you again because your county officials are in pretty good shape from the point of view of their budgets. When you add up all of the COVID relief packages that we passed since COVID-19, Allegheny County has received basically in general funds, almost $45 million. Carroll County, $81 million. Frederick County, $100 million. Garrett County, $10.5 million. Washington County, $60 million. Carroll County, $110 million. Frederick County, $145 million. Garrett County, $15.6 million. Washington County, $86 million. These are funds that have been used to fill in the budgets because of the impact of COVID-19. In addition, the Western Maryland counties have received over $200 million for their school system. That's in addition to the funds I just mentioned. I mention that because county budgets are in great shape. Everybody's saying, how can that happen during COVID-19? Well, we wanted to make sure the front line of service could be continued during COVID-19. So that's why we included in the American Rescue Plan a significant amount of funds that go to state and local governments. It started first with the CARES Act, but continued into the American Rescue Plan. In addition, I am the chair of the Infrastructure Subcommittee. For Western Maryland, the overall ranking Republican member is Senator Capito. The two of us have worked together in regards to infrastructure packages that have been very beneficial to our Western counties. I say that because we were able to get the Appalachia Highway System, additional funds for that. The ARC, we got additional money there. EDA, we got additional money. We got money for broadband. When you look at the infrastructure bill, it not only includes roads and bridges, and for Maryland, roads alone are over $4 billion, $4 billion coming into Maryland as a result of the infrastructure package. For bridge replacement and repair, over $400 million is coming into the state of Maryland as a result of that bill. Chesapeake Bay, this was an initiative that I initiated with the support of Senator Capito, $238 million coming into Maryland to deal with the Chesapeake Bay program under the infrastructure bill. That's in addition to all the other programs that we have that help the Chesapeake Bay. We haven't lost sight of your priorities. We work on individual projects with your local officials and with many of you. We have the C&O Canal, obviously, and tourism is a major priority. Using ARC funds and Transportation Alternative Program I authored. The Downtown Cumberland redevelopment has received funds. We have additional MARC service that we're looking at as a result of the infrastructure bill. We pay close attention to federal facilities, including Fort Detrick, which always requires some attention. There's money in here for all of your airports, which is desperately needed. So there's a whole list of issues that we could talk about. But one thing that's new this year is that after a decade of absence, we've now reinstituted congressional earmarks. And I say that because we want to make sure that you all are aware of the process that we're using moving forward. This was done on the fly. In the FY22 budget, we have a much more orderly process in the FY23 budget. But to give you just some indication on how we were able to utilize these monies for Western Maryland, I was proud that I was able to get $850,000 for Frederick County's Crisis Stabilization Center. That was in conjunction with Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Trone. I was able to get over $700,000 for a Gorman Waterline Rehab Project in Garrett County. And one of my highest priorities, I'll give Robin Somerville the full credit for this because he reminds me of this just about every time we meet. We got an earmark of $390,000 for the C&O Canal Rewatering Project. So we are moving on specific projects as well as general funds, and we look forward to working with you. One last point, I do chair the Small Business Committee, and we are actively engaged in trying to help small businesses. And I know in the western part of our state, we have a lot of small businesses that needed help. We're not finished yet. We're still working on these programs, and I always look forward to your input as we try to develop those programs. With that, Mr. Chair, let me turn it back to you. And if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer questions or comments. I see there is a couple hands that have already been raised.
All right, thank you, Senator Carr. I would ask everybody to mute their computers.
Mr. Chairman?
I think we're getting some feedback and questions. Yes.
Can I chime
Can
in?
you hear me? Yeah.
Rachel,
Yeah.
can I chime in?
Go ahead, Senator Edwards.
Yeah, I'm in a voting session, so I can't talk and I can't hear you, but I'm gonna watch you on the tube here. Just want to make sure Buckle says everything correctly whenever he's presenting his side of the issue. That's why
I will handle it.
I'm voting. So I want to thank the senator and congressman for talking with us. Thanks.
George, it's a pleasure to see you again. George goes back to the time I was in the General Assembly, so he was there a long time. And
Yeah.
more important than that, just a great leader, a great friend, and a person who really represents Western Maryland so effectively. George, is always good to be
Thank
with
you. The same to you. You were the speaker, if you remember, when I came in.
Yes, I do remember.
Appreciate that. Take care.
All right, thank you, George, and sorry you can't be here, but we'll catch up. So Senator Cardin, I want to make clear that presented you very, very well out there in Western Maryland. He's always available. He's always accessible whenever we have any issues and things, and he's just been a tremendous representative for you there in Western Maryland. So I want to thank him as I move out of this position, and Senator Edwards, I think, can second that, as well as Delegate Buckle and the rest of the Western Maryland people out there that you represent. So with that, anyone have any questions?
Wendell?
Yeah.
Hey, the Senator, it's Delegate Weibel from Washington County. Appreciate you joining us this morning, and I appreciate all the funding for the various projects. I did want to ask about the I-81 widening. That's kind of been our priority for many years. Any thoughts on potential funding source for that?
Absolutely. It's one of our major projects for infra grants, which are the large project grants that we have. It needs to be on the priority list at the state. It is. The state has placed this as one of their priority lists. It's on my priority list. I mentioned it very recently with the Secretary of Transportation. So it is a high priority that we're trying to get a separate grant so it does not have to come solely out of the formula funding. As you may be aware, 90% of the transportation money goes directly back to state and local governments through formula funding. And then the local priorities determine how those funds are spent. About 10% are in a different category. And we want to use part of that 10% for the widening of the interstate. We think that is a worthy project. The list is a short list that we have of priorities for Maryland. So I'm optimistic with the passage of the infrastructure bill, which provided more money for these types of projects, that we are in a pretty good position to try to advance this project. Nothing's a certainty, so let me make that clear. I also want to acknowledge, I know Sarah's on the line for Congressman Trone. Congressman Trone has been advocating for that project very aggressively, and his help has certainly been extremely important in regards to this, along with Senator Van Hollen.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
If I could jump in also on that one, I agree with Senator Cardin. It's been a great team effort. I think we're going to get it over the top. We almost had it over the top with earmark in the original transportation bill that was passed the House. it was done, but then the Senate left it out of their bill. But I have a call at 10 o'clock right after this call with Secretary Ports, Maryland Secretary of Transportation. And we've been working with Slater before that. And this is top of the list. And the Senator Cardin said, I think we're going to get this one done. Just like we got 219, out in Garrett County. We can see it's going to happen. So
David,
thank you.
I'm sorry. David, I'm sorry. I didn't notice that iPhone there was you. It's good to see you.
Okay, I'm following your lead, baby. I'm good.
Well, we thank you both for all your work on that project. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of Senator Cardin?
Yes, I have a question for Senator Cardin. Sorry, my electronic hand raise isn't working. Thank you, Senator Cardin, for being with us today and all the great work you've done for Western Maryland. We know that you've got our backs. And yes, I want to ditto the great work that Robin does in representing you. Very accessible and very responsive, and we appreciate that. So my question for you deals with healthcare. I noticed that the House very recently passed a cap on insulin of $35 a month. What do you think the chances are of the Senate doing the same?
Well, thank you, Karen. One of the we're laser focused on the rising prices that we're facing in inflation. And we're facing it in many areas. Clearly, energy prices are going up way too fast. There's multiple reasons for it. We do not control the cost of energy. It's a global situation, but energy costs, and we have a strategy to deal with. The president announced just yesterday the release of the strategic reserves in an effort to ease the price of energy. Healthcare escalations are primarily in the areas of prescription medicines. And the number one example is insulin, which can cost thousands of dollars, where the costs are literally a fraction of that. So we've used medical economists who have told us that insulin should not cost more than $35 a month for the cost of insulin. It is the prime example. So we're looking for an easy answer to the insulin crisis. And the $35 cap appears to be the answer. It's passed the House. It's supported by President Biden. I support it. Senator Van Hollen supports it. Congressman Trone supports it. So we are optimistic that we will get that to the floor and we'll be able to vote on that. There are other issues we're working on cost centers as well. It's not the only. The supply chain is the major challenge we have. And that's why I mentioned the compete bill a little bit earlier, a bipartisan bill. It's going into conference this week. We hope to have that ready shortly after the Easter Passover break.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions for Senator Cardin?
Yes, sir.
Delegate Krebs, I think you have your hand up.
I do. Thank you so much. Senator Cardin, thank you for being here. And you gave us some great information about the counties, how they've benefited from some of the programs. I'm not sure if you have that, you could email it to the delegation chair. I'm going to try to jot it down. It's very nice to have that handy. So thank you. But one other issue I wanted to bring up. Last year, and I believe it was on a Veterans Caucus call. I don't think it was on the Western Maryland call. I brought up an issue to Congressman Trone regarding the VA and some of the problems they had during COVID with getting benefits to people, especially with our seniors with aid and assistance and some of the disability claims because the archives were shut down or whatever. And it was a huge issue in our county, and I'm sure everywhere. There were hundreds of thousands of documents they could not get out. But during that process, I worked with Senator Van Hollen's office and Congressman Trone, you called me, your office called the next day to see what you guys could do. And you're not even my congressman, so I thank you for that. And Congressman Harris's office has got involved. So it was sort of a group effort, but there are some really problems with the system and how it treats these claims. And I don't want to get into it here, but I just want to elevate the issue on these VA benefits. And during COVID, when people needed them the most, they could not even access things for a year because the archives were shut down where they get their documents from. And there's got to be a way to make sure that doesn't happen in the future, because we had a personal problem with my mother-in-law, and it was just infuriating. And I wrote it all up and shared it with Senator Van Hollen because the system needs to get fixed so it doesn't happen again. So I just put it on your radar screen about the impact that COVID had on just being able to process things for veterans and their spouses. And then some of them died and never even were able to be made whole. So, and Congressman Trone, thank you for getting involved with that. But I just wanted to put it on your radar screen, and I can maybe forward you the letter that I sent to Senator Van Hollen, because his office helped a lot. And I put it in a 3-page letter to him saying, these are the things that need to be fixed for the future. So just put it on your radar screen.
No, thanks for that information. First, Robin, would you make sure that we email out the numbers in regards to both the general funds and the education funds? And there's many others. We also had housing assistance money that was made available, health department monies that were made available. That's in addition to the general type funds that were made available to the county. So it was a major help. And I think you see that because the counties were able to maintain services during COVID-19 without raising taxes. So we were able to achieve that. The VA has serious problems. And if you look at President Biden's budget, you will see the agency that received either the highest or the second highest increase in recommended funds is the Veterans Administration. So the president's putting significant resources in order to deal with these challenges of handling claims, which has not been done in the way it should be done. We are also been on a path for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years to significantly increase VA health. We had waiting lists that were outrageous. And today it's much better. It is much better, and we applaud that. I appreciate you acknowledging Congressman Trone because he's been a real champion on this issue in his position on his committee, and we appreciate that. He's bugged all of us in our congressional delegation to do more in order to streamline both the claim services as well as the health services. And Senator Van Hollen also has played a very key role on his committee on the support for the Veterans Administration. Just to show you how important it is to this administration, the current secretary was the former chief of staff for President Obama. So it's one of the highest priorities for us is to fix the mess that's there. We agree with you, it's a mess. It was a mess. We're on the right path though.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just second what the senator said? I mean, he nailed it. It is a president's top priority. And we are fortunate to have Secretary McDonough, whose qualifications are just outstanding. I've spent 2 days with him in the market. We've really got to know him. We have a great connection. So as you get more specific things, I'm on VA committee authorizing, and I'm on the VA appropriations committee. So I'm the only subcommittee. So I'm the only person on both of those, authorizing and sub. And I'm there for a reason, to try and help 43,000 vets in our district. So please use Sonny and myself, and let us work with Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin together as a team, because I'm placed in the right spot.
Good. And I think some of it is going to require legislative changes, but I will get that to you. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Senator Cardin? If not, Senator Cardin, thank you so much for being here. Thank you also. We join you in expressing our support for the people in Ukraine for what they're going through over there. And again, your staff has been tremendous in working with us. You're welcome to stay and join with us as we proceed, but I understand you're a very busy man. So if you want to excuse yourself, that's perfectly fine. So thank you for being here.
I think I have enough challenges right now with the politics in DC and the state. I don't know if I want to get involved in the local county politics right now, but anyway, best to you all. Stay well, everybody, and have a good weekend.
Thank you. At this time, we'll call on Congressman Trone, who is the congressman for the 6th Congressional District here in Maryland. And I start out by saying, Congressman Trone, your staff has been tremendous too. Sarah, I think, is on there. I don't know whether Sonny is or not. Sonny, been working with him for a long time. You have great staff out there helping us out whenever we need it. And certainly we can't express our appreciation enough for how you've represented us in the western part of the state where your district is. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and you can fill us in on what maybe your priorities are, what ours ought to be. So thank you, Congressman Trone.
Boss, you're on mute.
That's why we have Sarah. That's why we have Sunny, because we got a great team that can help keep us focused and off mute, which we tend to fall into once in a while. But the key is people. We've got a great team, and we focused really hard on Western Maryland. I think you all realize that and respect that. We try to spend a disproportionate amount of our time in Western Maryland. We think the needs are significant, and we want to be there to help. If we're present, just being present, we can build relationships. And I know Senator Cardin believes in that also. So it's been great being in the Western Maryland counties. I think Senator Cardin nailed the Ukraine situation. So I'm not going to touch on that. It's a tragedy. It's unimaginable. I think he spelled it out perfectly well. I would like to just mention quickly the budget that we did finally get through. I sit on the Appropriations Committee, and so it's a great spot to be. And of course, our community-funded projects, and Senator Cardin did a wonderful job, as he always does, of listing off numerous community-funded projects that we've been able to work as a team. And it's Team Maryland, it's Chris, it's Senator Cardin, myself, and Western Maryland with their leadership. And I'm having the boots on the ground, but their great leadership. I'm very fortunate to have those two folks as our U.S. senators. Very lucky. We got a lot of progress, as he mentioned, the crisis stabilization centers. As you know, addiction has been the number one issue for me. And we were able to push and get $500,000 for the Crisis Stabilization Center in Washington County, and then $850,000 for the Crisis Stabilization Center in Frederick County. And the opportunity to hit these folks right when they're in time of need, and when they are willing to say, I want to try something different. I want to get well. And I realize addiction is a disease. I want to help myself. So that's a great thing that we were able to do these in these two major counties. And we love to work with Allegheny and Garrett down the road on these similar type projects. As you know, we lost 105,000 people last year to overdoses. That's over 1 million since 1999. Stanford University estimates between 2020 and 2030, 1 decade, we're going to lose 1.2 million more Americans to overdoses. 1.2 million. Fentanyl is the killer. So people people your kids know, your friends know, your coworkers know. The deaths are unbelievable. Western Maryland's been hit phenomenally, disproportionately hard. So as you know, addiction's been my number one mission. I was excited when President Biden brought up the unity agenda. He had a great State of the Union. He talked about Ukraine, and then he said the unity agenda. And item 1 from President Biden was most important thing we can do in this country was work on the addiction crisis. My number 1. Then item 2 he brought up was mental health. That's also my number 2 agenda item. So in the U.S. House, I'm leading on addiction and I'm leading on mental health. Those are the 2 things that I'm driving the horse. Obviously, I bring good business sense and support business bills. And all of my bills in those areas are bipartisan. So my bipartisan addiction and mental health caucus, we have 140 members. It's the biggest caucus in Congress, all bipartisan. We have 70 bills out. We're working through Judiciary, E&C. President signed a couple already. Some others are over the Senate. SOR bills in the Senate. My family support bills in the Senate, waiting for approval. And Robin, anything he can do to help us there, we love it. 2 bills, bipartisan, bicameral. And I got to get them on the Help Committee with Patty Murray. We're working it, but anything your team can do is great. So everything is bipartisan, I do. And I think it shows, and I think people recognize that in Congress now. And, I come that way because out of business, in business, nobody asked your damn party. They just said, how do we create a win-win situation? So in other areas, we worked hard on blighted projects in Hagerstown. We were able to get 500,000 to help the blight in the city of Hagerstown. And we need to do more. We helped Allegheny College revitalize their facility there for film and theater, which was badly needed. I visited it myself. And of course, we helped in the Mater Avenue broadband project, $500,000 in Frederick, and the AAPI Community Center was $1.5 million in Frederick. Not to mention broadband, again, another $1 million we got for as an earmark for Garrett for broadband. Now, so we really worked hard. Being on appropriations has been a win. It's a big win for the counties I represent. It's a big win. And being on transportation and housing, urban development subcommittee, that gives us the in. So Joe Manchin was my partner. He was my Senate lead. I was his House lead, and the Allegheny Highway Redevelopment System. That was $1.25 billion. Manchin, Senate, Trone in the House. We got that through bipartisan, and that is going to fix so many Allegheny County, these Appalachian region highways, and we're going to get 219 fixed into 220. We got 77 million for us. Our money's taken care of now. We're done. We just got to work with Pennsylvania. And I got the governor of Pennsylvania, the Democrat. So I got the Democratic governor with my people to put the seed money in on his side. So he put the seed money, Maryland DOT matched it again. So 219 will happen 100%, because once the clock starts, they have 10 years to finish it. So we've got the money. We're going to keep working on the info grants. Pennsylvania's been the log jam, that terminus point, and we got a ton of money for West Virginia. I work with my friend Senator McKinley, the Republican down there, and Cassidy in the Senate. They've been great partners. Two Republicans, phenomenal partners. Both of them are on all kinds of bills I do on mental health and addiction. Both of those West Virginia Republicans. And really, really good people, good partners. So that's about the budget. We're redoing the budget now. I need more community funded projects from your areas. Get us things like crisis stabilization, maybe things to support the police, things to support your sheriffs, needs that are out there, specific projects, and we will help you write those up. We work for you. I work for you. Sonny, Sarah, Taylor, we'll work those up for you. Bring us your ideas and we'll find out what accounts we can use. There's a lot of great accounts in agriculture that didn't get tapped last time. I did an analysis of every single earmark for the entire Congress that went down. I took all of them in and we analyzed all of them, where they went, what they were for, how much they were for, and we looked at all the accounts that had the money. Some were tapped heavily, some were hardly tapped at all. So we're trying to develop and have developed a strategy so we can maximize it for our district. It's just pure business 101. You know, my whole life has been business. So by looking at the analytics of what happened last year, we're going to be able to do even better this year and make sure we come out on top for our district and our projects. So that's an important one. Just last thing I'll mention, I'll take some questions. And I know Senator Cardin talked about the bipartisan infrastructure bill. You know, it's once in a lifetime to get a bill like this, bipartisan infrastructure for roads, all of our airports. And of course, the America Competes Act, $42 billion, supply chain. In my company, I understand supply chain. I probably got 60 people that work in my company in supply chain. That's all they do. Supply chain from 40 countries. We understand it inside out. I understand it backwards and forward. It's screwed up. It is screwed up. But if the president sees it and the American Competes Act, when it gets through the Senate, it's going to begin to help. The last thing is we finished a report, a bipartisan report on the commission to stop fentanyl from China and Mexico to the United States. And I was co-chair with Senator Tom Cotton, very conservative Republican. He and I were the co-chairs. Then we had Fred Upton from Michigan, Congressman, and we had Senator Markey from Massachusetts. Then we had outside experts. Then we had all the government agencies, DOT, Treasury, intelligence community, defense, everybody that counted. So it was an all of government effort. We spent over a year, 100 and some meetings on this, classified briefings to learn about the cartels and how the power they have to murder, to kill, to extort with impunity. We went to Mexico City. We went to the border and we looked at this, and we went to the post office facilities in New York for international mail. And at the end of the day, Senator Cotton and I, as much as we like to bash China, and I spoke to the Chinese ambassador 2 days ago because he felt like we did bash him. We did hit him hard for money laundering. We hit him hard for precursor chemicals. And I spent over an hour with the Chinese ambassador just 2 days ago in my office on Capitol Hill with 3 of his team. And they took notes. I work with the State Department on my presentation. And we're trying to bring China where they take ownership of their people moving the money for the Mexican cartels through technology. They're moving the money. And I was very blunt with him, very clear. And I don't think he liked to hear it, but he heard it, but he can help us with that. So China has to step up, but Mexico is a lost cause. Senator Cotton and I had great hope that we could work with the Mexican government, and they were good people, and DEA has good people. But the Mexican cartels now control roughly 30% of the gross domestic product of Mexico. It's not drugs, it's gasoline, it's tobacco, it's retail, it's extortion, it's gambling, it's the ports. And the Mexican government has decided they are not going to go after the cartels. 36,000 Mexicans were murdered last year. Less than 1% were solved. That's scary, isn't it? 100 politicians like me and Senator Cardin running for office were murdered last year. So either you play the game and work for them, or you could be very easily dead. So it's a scary situation, but Senator Cotton and I realized we have to work on demand in America. We have 76 recommendations, all bipartisan. So when you get Cotton with me and all bipartisan, that's an accomplishment. And we're working on them together in the House and the Senate, all to stop fentanyl that's killing our children. And now it's put in pills like Oxy, Xanax, Percocet, Adderall. The cartels are mixing it in the pills. So these are people that are not addicts. They're not addicts. They're your children and my children in their 20s and 30s. And one pill can kill. One Xanax you take at a party that you didn't know was made by the cartels has 3 grams of fentanyl, and that person is dead. And they've never been a drug user. They have no addiction. They're dead. That's what's killing America. So that's where I'm focused, along with the mental health. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Congressman Trone. Yeah, thank you for all the attention you brought to this issue and the help that you've given our communities throughout not only Western Maryland, but across the state. And as you mentioned, and you're right, you nailed it, that this touches every family. And so we have some things some good things going on in Western Maryland you've helped with. And one is like, you've met Kevin Simmers and at Brooks' house there in Hagerstown. And, my wife's been working on that issue, trying to get some things accomplished along those lines also. So thanks for all the attention you've given that. And you've been really keeping us informed of the issues and representing us out there. So anyway, at this point in time, I open it up and let the folks ask questions. So is there anyone else have a question of Congressman Trone?
Wendell.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bill.
Congressman Delegate Weibel from Washington County. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Just a question. You made a comment, Mexico being a lost cause and with all the fentanyl issues. What's being done to keep the fentanyl from crossing the southern border?
Yeah. The challenge is this: we've got a Customs and Border Patrol that are really good people. We've got DEA there, more good people. And they can't physically stop the fentanyl from getting across the border. There are 73 million cars that go over that border a year. I have a Ford 150 pickup truck at home. And my Ford 150, if I filled it up 2 times, 2 trips, that's all the fentanyl that America needs for a full year. So 2 visits on my truck across that border mixed in with 73 million visits. And it's absolutely mind-boggling, the impossible challenge, because 90+% of it, maybe 95 now, is coming by vehicular passenger traffic. We hear in the news all about people bringing it across. Of course that happens. It comes across a million ways. Someone flies a drone. They put it on a train. But over 90 to 95%, according to the intelligence community, is all in passenger vehicles. And we just can't physically stop that unless we search every vehicle. Now, I'm working with a company called Leidos, and there's one other bidder to try and develop technology that can spot things like fentanyl at high speed. So when you go through the high speed lane and it reads your auto pass, your easy pass, and you don't have to slow down, well, we could do something like that one day. And then if we saw it, we pick you up a mile down the road. And that's one way, but we have to do it to 73 million cars. And the other terrible problem at the border is we're letting all the guns and all the bulk cash go back into Mexico. So the Mexican cartels are armed to the teeth with American weaponry, really sophisticated weaponry. And that's why the government itself has said, and it's just hard to believe. I made him tell me a few times, but they have a new policy from President Obrador. It's called hugs, not bullets. Hugs, like you hug your children, not bullets. That is their policy toward the cartels. That doesn't mean they love them, but what that means is they're not going to get in the shooting war. The 2 previous presidencies were in a shooting war and it didn't work out. But when you have that many murders unsolved and dead politicians and the corruption, and I can't tell you the corruption numbers of governors and attorney generals in the 32 provinces of Mexico because it's classified. But needless to say, if you heard the number, you would go, holy shit. And it's absolutely unbelievable. And so Senator Cotton, who is a very, very conservative Republican, and he and I hit it off. We went to all the intelligence briefings together. He came to the same conclusion I did. We can disrupt it. We can slow it down. We'll holler at China for sure. Maybe we could get somehow some of the money laundering. But when the Mexican government is afraid for their lives, they're not going to do anything, and they aren't. And we got to be honest about it. And the head of DEA, Ann Milgram, I've spoken to her about it directly. It's a horrible situation. I wish I had a better answer. I don't have a good answer for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Congressman Chun, when you mentioned that there's 35,000 people murdered in Mexico, and if you look just at the drug deaths, and it just keeps rising in the U.S., 110,000, and so there's a demand, a really big demand. That you all mentioned that there are people that take it not knowing that what it's doing to them and not even being addicts. But the fact is, there's a huge demand in the U.S. And so if the demand was taken, if the demand is not there, then there wouldn't be a need for all that stuff down there. So we have a problem here in the U.S. we need to address too. But would you mind, maybe commenting on that?
I would think that what we came away from our commission, and again, it was a bipartisan, bicameral, was 100% our focus needs to be demand. We want to do some things at the border. We want to disrupt at the border. We want to do better at the border, better with China. But at the end of the day, it's demand, demand, demand. And that's where our recommendations are for executive action, for appropriations monies and direct them to the right spots. And President Biden, this is the great thing, Wendell, President Biden's budget that just came out, the 23 budget, he put his money where his mouth is. When he said in his uni agenda, addiction and mental health. When I met with him in the White House probably 6 weeks ago, we had a bill passed on mental health. I talked to him one-on-one. I pigeonholed him. And I said, sir, I know Ukraine it sucked all the oxygen, as it should, out of the room. But when this is over, can we turn to addiction and mental health? And he said, absolutely, David. And what I love about it is bipartisan. The president said bipartisan probably 4-5 times in a row. He really is a man that wants to work bipartisan. He loves that. And he was excited about it. But his family, Hunter, addiction problems, mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, all of our families, all of ours, mine included, have had these same problems. We all have. And, so Delegate Beitzel, the new budget by the president is really strong on addiction and mental health, billions and billions. And now it's our job in appropriations, and then the House and then the Senate to get this budget through, because these are the number one and number two crises in America that we're facing.
May I ask a question on that subject?
Yes, Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. As I've mentioned before, I'm so glad that you are working on both mental health and addiction, because those two are so intertwined. We know that about 85% of all people with an addiction issue also have mental illness challenges. Senator Huff and I had a bill this year, and your staff might be aware of it, where we were trying to provide a solution for the small portion of the population that is not getting treatment because they don't acknowledge that they have a problem, or they're so mentally ill that they just refuse treatment. And it was going to be a test in Frederick, but it didn't move because these people, after repeated jail time, hospitalizations, and refusal for treatment, would be forced into it. But that's something I'd like to discuss with you and your staff. How do we find that subsection of individuals who are severely challenged? They're living homeless on the streets, they're overdosing, they're in jails, which is not the right place for them. How do we get them the treatment that they need, but yet still have the support of the legal and the mental health community? I don't know if you've been faced with that challenge also, but perhaps we can work collaboratively to figure out at least a test program for it.
I think you should get your ideas right away, Karen, you and Senator Huff, over to Sonny, and he'll hook you up on the appropriation staff. But those are the kind of things we can use appropriation language to try pilots, tests. I love that stuff. But the criminal, you're so correct. It's mental health and addiction intertwined completely, but then add to that criminal justice. Addiction, it's not a disease, it's a disease, it's not a crime. So we got to stop putting people in jail that are addicted. It's a disease. We've got to help them. And our jail system is a train wreck. So I'm also working with the Bureau of Prisons. I spent a lot of time on this quietly, on a whole idea of an opportunity pipeline with the Bureau of Prisoners. We have 2 roundtables coming up in the next 30 days at the Bureau of Prisons with big companies like FedEx, UPS, JP Morgan, Target, Walmart, that we brought in to help hire thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of returning citizens. Because if I can hire those returning citizens, I'll save us $180 billion. So we could save $80 billion and we can get some folks jobs. Instead, they just keep going back into jail and we pay for it. But a large part of that, Karen, is addiction problems. Medically assisted treatment isn't there. mental health counseling isn't there. So all these wraparounds, that's something we're also working on. So get that over. We'd love to look at that with you and Senator Huff. And it'd be great because it's bipartisan, in Annapolis. So that's right up our alley.
Thank you.
At this point, Congressman Trone, we want to just thank you. We're going to have to cut it off because we got to move on. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the way you represent us. And so I'm sure there's other issues that we have out there that we'll be talking to you about in the future. So you're welcome to hang on here if you want, but we're going to move on to the next item.
I want to add one thing. Congratulations on your retirement, your career. Thank you for being a partner on so many of these issues, and Senator Edwards also. And it's been great working with you guys. You're just straight up. What it is. We don't agree on everything, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's about serving people and being the best we can and being present. And so thank you for your friendship. And I see Edwards again. I'll make sure I talk to the senator again. So enjoy some time on the golf course with your family.
Thank you, Congressman.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much. All right, we're going to move on now to is the Delegate Buckle here, and I don't know whether Senator Edwards is back or not.
I'm here, Wendell.
So we're going to ask Jason to give us a report on the Western Maryland Economic Development Task Force and what their recommendations has been and how things are moving forward with some of the legislation that addresses the issues that they pointed out in that study. Jason.
Great. Thank you. So I think we have some good news to report. Some of you that may or may not know the background, will be very brief. The task force on the economic future of Western Maryland, and no offense to our good friends from Frederick County and Carroll County, was predominantly focused on Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett counties because, through a lot of very good reasons, including the hard work of people on this call, Carroll County and Frederick County over the last 20 or 30 years have experienced pretty good growth and economic development and are sort of in the upper echelon of counties in the state of Maryland with respect to per capita income and other leading factors and indications of economic health. Our three Western counties have lagged behind. We're all part of Western Maryland. We all want to work together to accomplish our similar goals. And our three Western counties, through a variety of reasons, have simply lagged behind economic growth, economic development, and population growth statistics for the rest of the state. 2 years ago, the task force on the economic future of Western Maryland was commenced through an act of the General Assembly. Senator Edwards and I have been the co-chairs of the effort for the last 2 years, which brought together a wide variety of local officials, private sector, economic development professionals from across the Western region, plus a lot of input from TEDCO, MEDCO, the Department of Commerce, and other statewide entities. We proposed a suite of legislation last year. A few things passed. We won't go through those things. Few beneficial things, both for Frostburg State University and also some smaller things for economic growth. The centerpiece of our agenda really has been what's called, I'll get the name right, the Western Maryland Economic Future Investment Board and Fund. We've been trying to do this for the past 2 years. I'm happy to report that the General Assembly, along with Governor Hogan, are about to create a roughly $60 million economic future investment board and fund for the three Western counties, Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett, that will go into effect later this year. Governor Hogan, at our request and working in connection with the task force, he not only thought our task force idea was a pretty good idea, he imported it to 4 other regions of the state that are smaller or more rural regions that have tri-county councils. We have a tri-county council. Those of us from our neck of Western Maryland know that Garrett, Allegheny, and Washington have a tri-county council mechanism. Governor Hogan earlier in this budget season put $10 million in for that initiative. We also were able to secure $20 million in the existing budget of the state for the Economic Investment Fund. And I have a bill. Senator Edwards passed a bill through the House. It was amended in our committee in Ways and Means yesterday. It will be on our floor calendar here shortly. And I'll have to get off in a few minutes. I do have a meeting planning for the floor session this morning. but that bill will mandate $10 million in funding every year for the next 3 years for Western Maryland economic development initiatives. You add it all up, it's a total of $60 million. And it also does not end the fund. If we can show success in our 3 counties, the fund continues on. It just doesn't have a mandated appropriation. It's subject to appropriations from the governor and from future general assemblies after 2026, I guess you would say, after 2026. It's still an open fund. We're very, very hopeful that this funding, historic funding really, for economic development in particular, it's not one infrastructure project, it's not one shiny thing. It is intended to allow local entities, county commissioners, economic development professionals, the legislature, the Department of Commerce to work together to have a dedicated source of funding to spur growth, to spur job growth, to spur the creation, really, finally, of a 21st century economy throughout this region of Western Maryland. Hagerstown, Washington County is sort of starting to already take the lead with things like the Hitachi rail car manufacturing plant being introduced in Washington County, actually in the District 1 portion of Washington County. And we're hoping to continue transformational projects like that for all 3 Western counties, whether it be in manufacturing, life sciences. Frederick has become one of the state's leaders in life sciences, had another project announced yesterday or the day before. We're looking to build with our friends from Frederick a life sciences corridor that extends west. That's not just simply 270 from Rockville to Frederick, but starts focusing on Frederick and builds west from Frederick to Hagerstown to Cumberland to Frostburg, where we have a great resource in one of the state's very few, frankly, 4-year public universities at Frostburg State. So I think that it's been a good year. We've also passed some legislation. I believe my bill has already passed the Senate and will become law, and Senator Edwards cross-file as well, about what's called the Innovation Initiative, which was at the suggestion of Frostburg State. It applies to a lot of universities in the state, including a lot of our HBCUs. But it specifically really helps Frostburg State because it enables them to qualify for matching funds from the state for more donations to their endowment fund. The way that program was set up, and it's designed to bring in high-level professors in the sciences and tech fields and sort of start programs that have economic development impact beyond just classroom teaching. And, you know, Frostburg and some of the smaller schools were very disadvantaged because the levels of contribution that generated a state match were so high that almost all of it was going to Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, you know, maybe 1 or 2 other places. And so we've successfully moved that as part of our package. We have other bills. I'm not sure, given that we're getting roughly $60 million, I'm not sure that any of the other bills will go through this year, but I intend to bring back hopefully next year some of the tax credit programs to facilitate what we call middle market housing in the 3 Western counties. We suffer from that because our housing costs, our construction costs are higher than our neighbors in West Virginia and Pennsylvania because of certain regulatory requirements that the state has, which may be fine requirements, sprinklers and septic system requirements. They don't exist 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes away from our population centers in Garrett, Allegheny, and Washington counties in other states. And so builders and home buyers oftentimes tend to say, hey, I want to buy or build that first home. I still work in Hagerstown, or I work in Cumberland, or I work in Oakland, or wherever it may be, but it saves me $10, $20, $30, $40,000 to buy or build my house in another state 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away. And so we have an incentive package that we hope would address that through some property tax breaks and some breaks to facilitate builders and home buyers to stay in Maryland, to stay in our counties, and they can see where it will help offset some of those one-time costs to install, house-wide sprinkler systems or much more modern septic and water systems than what they have in our some of our neighboring communities. So that'll be a big push for next year. I would say that we look at it. I know Senator Edwards, I don't know if he's still on here. We think that the task force has been a success. We think the fact that we're able to get this funding, that we've gotten some bills through, that we've turned some attention both in our own communities and here in Annapolis toward the plight of economic development in Western Maryland. It is the number one issue for the 3 Western counties. We want to start emulating and be more in line with our neighbors in Western Maryland and Frederick and Carroll. We think Washington County is starting to trend that way and hope that continues. And we hope that Allegheny and Garrett continue to go that way. So that's kind of the update. I think it's a great thing. I'm very happy about where we stand today and hope the next 10 days everything pans out. No reason to anticipate that it won't. And it'll be probably one of the bigger years that the 3 Western counties have had here in recent times. And that's the hard work of everybody. It's not me and Senator Edwards. It's Senator Quarterman, Delegate McKay, Delegate Beitzel, Delegate Wyville, and others. It's advocates. It's people from the Washington County Chamber of Commerce and the Garrett County Chamber of Commerce and Frostburg State University and county commissioners from all 3 counties, and the friendship and support of our friends in Frederick and Carroll, who have always, I think, tried to stand with us, even when the issues aren't the same. We try to stand together. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Is Senator Edwards on? All right, if Senator Edwards is not on, Jason, could you take a few questions if anybody has a question?
Sure.
Anybody have a question? Comment? Not? I guess you did a great job.
There you go. That's what I like.
And I want to congratulate you and compliment you on work you've been doing, as not only as minority leader, but for us in Western Maryland. And it's been tremendous working with you on this delegation. So
thank you, Wendell.
Thanks.
Thank you. Same to you.
Any other questions with him? If not, we'll move on. Thanks, Jason, for being here. And we're probably going to run over, and there may be some people leaving to vote. I see Delegate McKay still on there, so I guess I'm not missing the voting session that I asked to be excused from because of the time frame. There's just so much to discuss and so little time to do it, but I want to allow an opportunity for Charlotte Davis to give us a brief report on a rural Maryland Council and her work there. Thanks, Charlotte.
So good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the delegation. I'm Charlotte Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Rural Maryland Council. I did want to acknowledge that with me today is John Hartline. He's Chair of the Rural Maryland Council and also Executive Director of the Tri-County Council of Southern Maryland. So if you have any questions about the regional councils, I'm sure he can step in and adequately answer them. I saw a bunch of you last Friday, so thank you to those that were able to stop by at our Maryland Day event on Lawyers Mall. I've already gotten requests from our sponsors to repeat that event. For those, it was the grab and go lunch with our friends from Caroline County. We've had fish tacos and spirulina shakes, lots of giveaways. So please mark your calendars. Next year will be March 24th, Friday. Again on Lawyers Mall, and please, it was a fun event. So hope folks can join us for that. I do want to thank Governor Hogan, as well as the Appropriations Committee members and the Senate Budget and Tax Committee members for fully funding the Rural Maryland Council, the Maryland Agricultural Education and Rural Development Assistance Fund, and the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund. We were appropriated $9 million. That's an increase from last year. So we have available funding. We are planning to open up our grant program April 25th, the grant portal, and then applications for the first phase will be due May 20th. We will notify applicants whether they can proceed to the next step by June 20th. And then the full application will be due July 15th with awards announced August 22nd. We will be in Cumberland in person on April 26th at Allegheny College. We will be doing a 2-hour information session to help folks that are interested in applying. We will also do a Zoom conference session on April 20th from noon to 2 for those that can't do the in-person. We're hosting in-person events across the state. We've got 3 others scheduled for folks that if they can't make the one in Allegheny, they're certainly welcome to try to come to the others, but they can do the Zoom. And then if any of those dates don't match, we're always happy to meet with applicants in person, Zoom, individually. We come out, we'll do site visits. We really want to generate applications from Western Maryland. We do well on the shore, but frankly, we would like to get additional applications from Western Maryland. So in the guidelines and criteria, we are planning to release on April 25th. They're going to look similar to the previous years. I can tell you the MERDAF limit, we have increased that from 40,000 to 40, excuse me, $45,000 this year in recognition of inflation and the additional funding available. So lots of funding available. And we were hoping if you know of any groups that are looking for funding to please contact us. We're happy to talk to them. And so the other events besides that, TAWS, Crab and Clam Bake, as you know, we always invite all the legislators to come to Crisfield. This year, the event will be held September 28th. So again, if you guys want to come to Annapolis, we're happy to give you a ride. And if you want to come to Frederick, I'm happy to give people a ride from Frederick to Annapolis and we take a bus. But it's a fun event and hopefully folks can make it. Last, we have 2 policy forums coming up. We are planning a series of roundtables this fall on rural non-emergency health transportation. There was a bill, House Bill 1243. It doesn't look like it's going to go forward. And the governor did appropriate funding of $1 million in supplemental number 4. However, it was contingent on this legislation. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, although miracles may happen anyway. I know you guys get 12 days left, but if not, we're going to be doing these roundtables. And then for value-added agriculture, last December, we hosted the Rural Summit. We do that event every 2 years. So this year on December 1st, we will host the co-host with Grow and Fortify, the value-added, the Grow Maryland Summit, looking at to promote manufacturing, food manufacturing, and how we can support our value-added agriculture folks. So with that, I know everybody's scheduled to get someplace else. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I just wanted to thank Delegate Beitzel and thank Senator Edwards for all your support and your efforts over the years. And if you ever want to come back in retirement, we've got places for you. So you're always welcome to join the council if you're not quite ready to step away. So thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. And we don't have any time to take questions if you don't mind. So we're going to move on. We have another item on the agenda here. I know people have to go places, but I've already missed my voting session. We had a discussion. As you all know, I'm leaving, and there's a bunch of other people leaving. And Haven was the vice chair, and I don't know whether Haven went off the Judiciary Committee. I don't know whether he's back yet or not. Haven, are you on there?
I am.
Oh, great. So thank you, Haven, for being the vice chair here of the delegation, and you're leaving also. So you're going to have some new leadership going forward. And so we had a discussion on this. I've checked the bylaws and checked on with the DLS people, what are the rules or bylaws, and there really basically aren't any. I talked to the Eastern Shore delegation. What they've decided to do is either to wait till after the election so that people that are elected have been elected and will continue to be here, or be new people coming in. But and Delegate Pippi, are you on?
I am.
Would you like to comment on this? I think you made a comment about how you think we should handle this. You want to fill us in on that?
Well, sure. I noticed that there was the discussion of an election. I didn't know if we were voting for new folks today, or if we were doing it, I guess, after the election. I didn't know what the procedures were, and I hope that all of the people on this call, minus the ones that said that they're retiring, are coming back. That's what I really hope, quite frankly. But there are elections, so I didn't know what this caucus has done in the past. And I think to the comment you just made about the Eastern Shore, they say they're waiting till after December or November, or they're doing it now?
They're waiting till after election in November, and they'll probably wait. They'll either do it shortly before the next session starts, or they will meet early on in session and make that decision.
Gotcha. I mean, it probably makes the most sense. I mean, like I said, we've got a good Western Maryland delegation, and I hope everyone in it is returning. But should we? I mean, I guess it's the will of the caucus. Should we wait until after the election to address this, or?
Well, I think since you've made that comment and you brought it to our attention, we've had a discussion on this, but I think it makes sense. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that line? And if not,
that sounds fine to me, Wendell. I mean, I don't know that it'll change the outcomes. There's only so many people, you know, that are in a position to do it, want to do it. I know, for example, we're losing Delegate Kittleman, Delegate Novotny, assuming who knows what the courts will do with the maps. But as the maps stand now, you know, they represent a section of Carroll County and are part of our delegation. They won't be anymore if the existing maps hold up. And I do think that honestly, just looking at it, the vast majority of members of the caucus, you know, which is predominantly a House caucus, won't be back in the House for one reason or another. You know, you want to retire, which I keep trying to talk you out of. Shoemaker wants to run for state's attorney, which I keep encouraging him to do every day. But we'll have, you know, quite a few changes. So if that makes sense with everyone, I think that's fine to just say, hey, we'll wait and reconvene, you know, in December. You'll still be here, Wendell. You'll still be an elected delegate in December until the next year. You can call a meeting for those elections at that time.
okay, if that makes sense with everybody, is there anyone opposed to that idea? If not, then we'll move forward on that basis. And as Jason mentioned, I guess I'll carry on through till end of my term, and then, but before the end of the term, we'll get together in some fashion or other, so you all can make the decision. So you got some new leadership in place with the delegation, and I just want to express my appreciation to all those that in the delegation that have supported me, and it's just been a pleasure working with you, and I know you'll carry on. And Senator Edwards, I don't know whether he's still on or not. Senator Edwards is, I want to just really have to say, I can't say enough good about Senator Edwards and the time that he served here, and the friendship that he's expressed to me and all of you, I think, and our minority leader and our vice chair. So it's just, I'm sad about the whole thing, but I know you guys will carry on. So.
And I just want to say, in my limited time here, I know concretely that Maryland, and particularly Western Maryland, is a much better place because of yours and Senator Edwards' service. That is very evident to me in the 4 years that I've been here, that the state is much better off, and Western Maryland is. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Sure.
I want to take the opportunity to thank you for your years of dedicated service to the good folks of Western Maryland, and all of your contributions to and advocacy for those folks out there. And as Delegate Pippy said, you know, it's a much better region of the state because of your efforts, and we're going to miss you very much.
So thank
And
all.
I want to pile on and say as well how much I have just thoroughly enjoyed working with you. I wish we could talk you out of leaving also. I'm going to miss you greatly, but I appreciate your leadership, your thoughtfulness, and you know, we're still friends always, but we're going to miss seeing you every day down here in this crazy session.
You all are going to make me shed crocodile tears here. So I think with that, if there's no other business, we can adjourn the meeting. Is that anything anybody else wants to add? If not, thank you all. Thank you so much. All right. Bye.